Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Higher Density Living. You are here with your hosts, Jason Rigby and Alexander McKeag. Before we get started, I got to kick this off because they've been a prolific sponsor for quite some time, and that's Quality Mazda NM. If you're looking to buy a car in the Colorado, Texas, New Mexico area, and you want it shipped to you for an educational, high-quality buying experience, you can go to qualitymazdanm.com. All right, that's all we got for ads. I you know what? I'm happy to do that because they support us.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah,
so.
and we're not for profit. So, if there is a company out there that wants to support us, or maybe you'd like to just support an episode to maybe you would like to do in memory of a loved one or something like that.
Sure.
We'd be more than happy to do that.
We can dedicate episodes.
Yeah, and it's a not for profit, so you can claim it on your taxes. But feel free to get a hold of Jason at higherdensityliving.com. Be more than happy to make that happen. We've been having several. Now we're at that level where we're getting emails, but it just doesn't align. Some of the stuff doesn't align with, like their ethics, their way that they do business. When I start researching the company, it just doesn't align with what HDL is about. So that's the hard part, is finding somebody that aligns.
And for you out there listening, we just don't want to be a bunch of fucking hypocrites.
Yeah, it's like, obviously.
You know what I mean? Like, money's
sponsored by ExxonMobil.
Yeah. I love the earth.
Yeah.
But the Roman Catholic Church has donated substantial funds to Higher Density Living.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Vatican Library. We just did a whole episode. I was just doing clips on the episode that we did when we were talking about the Vatican, where both of us were like, listen, we'll take a bed and sleep down there for a while and go through everything.
Let me tell you something. If you find me hanging under a bridge in Italy,
then you know what happened.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's that? Who's McCaffrey?
Well, there's
McAfee.
that.
Remember McAfee got the tattoo? He said if I committed suicide, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me or
Same
whatever
thing.
It was. Same thing.
Well, there's a lady that did the pedophile whole series, and they're on Rumble, of course, because you can go on Rumble, not YouTube, and she's missing now.
What?
Yeah, well, it's pure evil with all that stuff, with these 1%.
Oh, yeah.
Epstein and his island and all that stuff.
Consider this. If you're in the business of killing people, what's one more person to kill?
It doesn't mean anything.
Don't clip that out of context, by the way.
Yeah. Well, maybe for you, you're in the business of killing people.
Yeah.
We'd like to interview you.
I'd like to understand your thought processes. I doubt I will understand them, but I'll listen to them.
Well, that's what I was trying to explain to somebody the other day, because they were asking me this spiritual principle about, well, what do you do with serial killers and what do you do with their victims and stuff? And I was like, both were needed to create polarity, and both of them are expression of the creation.
Yeah, like, what do you mean?
There's nothing any less. The serial killer is not any less than the victim.
This is a hard thing for people.
It's hard for people to figure out.
It's hard to deal with. All right, I'm gonna touch on this real quick. So,
this is the dark side of what we're talking about.
Oh no, and then we're just gonna get into this. So I have a pertinent example here. One of our listeners, thank you for sending us an email, asked a question about how we deal with what would I say? Like bad people, like Hitler.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead. While
you're loading it up.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You were bad in a lifetime before.
Shame on you.
To think that with all the many meat suits that you had, you were absolutely, to properly evolve, there has to be the as below. Below, as above. So there are moments of your caricature of who you were in the physical form that would have a negative polarity. You have to have negative polarity. Ra talks about this over and over again. To think that you went from second density to third density to fourth density and never were service to self in any of your meat suits?
No. Doesn't happen.
I would say probably, 50% of them probably were service to self. You were a serial killer probably at one point, or you killed somebody, or you were part of it.
The thing about this, if you do not commit an error, you cannot write that error and then learn something and create wisdom out of it.
Yes.
All right?
This is Vedic teachings with, Hinduism and karma.
And to be clear, much of what we talk about is spiritual based. It doesn't have a material substance to it. Let me explain something here. When you become wise through learning through your errors, your brain, like the material conscious part of your brain, creates acids. These acids are remembered at a genetic level and passed on to your children. You tracking with me?
Yeah, exactly.
If you evolve in consciousness, you evolve your material consciousness, generating material acids carried through in your DNA, and then you help the rest of people evolve. So if you're a shitbag, in some sense of the word, okay, that acid will carry forward. Or if you have wise acids, I'm going to call it wise acids.
Wise acids.
If you got wise acids, those carry forward, and then they help evolve. But you have to commit errors, okay? And then with those errors, learn from them, and then allows you to take, positive, neutral, equal.
Well, I mean, we deal with data. I mean, when you look at AI, it's the same principle.
Same thing.
They have to put they have to put errors so the system can understand and know the truth.
Yeah. Do you know how I know we're talking about the right shit? Because people get so edged out in the comments about us.
Yeah.
When they start snapping, it's because we've struck a chord in the truth for them.
A vibrational chord.
And then they're like, fuck you for making me focus on that.
Well, that's what happens whenever you go down through history when that vibration. What happens, when you look at, I was reading articles on the French Enlightenment, and it was just like, whoosh, whoosh. I mean, that guillotine was working every day.
Oh, you got way too much brain acid over there. We're going to cut that head off.
Exactly.
We're going to cut that head off.
Exactly. We're doing a podcast on alchemy. Yep. Those motherfuckers were all like,
oh yeah, day in and day out. Well, so remember how I was bringing up this thing here to talk about, like, if you're a bad person and how we just gave that example, you have to commit errors. One of our listeners asked, like, put yourself in the shoes of a terrible person like Hitler or Stalin or a serial killer. Look, it's right here. Great. Who has a come to Jesus moment, which means they've started to recognize someone who's had very negative traits. They've come to recognize something and say they genuinely want to change and do good. And they asked, how do you deal with the crippling and paralyzing guilt and shame from your past choices that you've made?
I like this one. This one's really, really good.
No, but it's going to tee into this, so this is fine.
Yeah. One is they're all learning lessons. So what you're perceiving to be negative or bad was the learning lesson that you needed to learn in that time. So now you have to trust the creator, the universe. You have to trust the process that you went through. If you began to look at yourself as being bad, I'm always remembering that scene in Breaking Bad. It's such a pivotal moment where Jesse just says, he's just sitting there. He's like, I'm just a bad person. Like, I finally admitted I'm just a bad person, so I'm just going to do bad things. There was this realization, like enlightenment in the left path type of enlightenment.
Oh yeah,
that was like, this is what's happening. This is where I'm at. This is who I am, and I identify as this. And next meat suit, that's a figurative, play of an archetype character in a TV show, but it reveals our consciousness.
Absolutely. And when you, if you pare down on that, if you actually know what you have done, then you can reframe your choices going forward. If people fundamentally do change, if you have, say, murdered someone, there's a classification that you're a murderer. I get that. It's not good.
Well, there's material laws.
Yeah, there's material laws against this stuff. But that does not denote that person shouldn't be allowed to redeem themselves,
to
100%. Learn from these processes. For us in this life, what do? If someone's a murderer, we put them on death row and we kill them. When you bring murder to murder, you're taking the same amount of force and might and ending a creational existence ahead of time.
We did a whole episode on this.
Right, before it needs to happen. So absolutely, to answer this question here, they asked, do I believe first of all, I don't believe in shit, but is there a path to redemption for these people? Every single person has the opportunity to redeem themselves in this material lifetime.
Yeah, 100%.
Through this experience. You make an error, redeem yourself from it, right? Do you think they have the right to live? Do you have the right to live? I'm asking you.
Well, this is funny because they said this person.
Uh-huh.
So they're automatically creating separation, not understanding the unity and the oneness.
Right.
That you need all the reflections of the creator is the reflection of the wolf eating the innocent baby deer and ripping it to shreds is just as much beauty to the creator as a serial killer or Stalin or a Hitler as you.
Sure.
Doing acts of kindness. This is hard for people to understand this. But whenever you have, I always remember Star Trek, the Borg.
Oh, the Borg.
And how it assimilates,
Yep.
and then it's just constantly assimilating. And in a positive way, I kind of look at it. I even hate using the word positive, but in a negative and positive polarity way, it's kind of the assimilation of the creator, where he's doing the same thing. These refractions and reflections of the mirror of the self,
Yes,
in this meat suit. When you have trillions of these happening, all it's doing is evolving the collective consciousness.
absolutely.
But it needs catalysts, it needs experiences in that meat suit that are negative and positive, so that it can know the ultimate, which is love and light.
It needs errors.
You have to know.
It's refining the program over and over and over.
That's like another word, and I want you to get into this. Guilt is narcissistic.
Oh, it totally
If you
is.
have guilt for something, you're just
making it all about you.
yeah.
You got to learn that you are here to have an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And people can fuck up really bad. And they have every right to live and make choices just as much as you do.
And like, you haven't fucked up really bad either.
Yeah. Right. Are they deserving of a family or any human love in general? Absolutely. To understand love is to understand. So you can have love for people that ethically make poor choices. But you need to still, you don't need to. You can do whatever the hell you want. But it would be in your best interest to show them as much love and understanding and respect and deference for being human beings, making choices, even though they're choices you would otherwise not make in your life, given your moral and ethical compass.
Yeah, it's so funny too. It's like we don't understand the catalyst of our choices. Like, for instance, your very first girlfriend that you ever had. For some reason, you guys decided not to be together.
Sure.
But if you were still together, you'd already had children. You would have created little human beings that are evolving that would have, and you may have had one or two or three of them now, but you would have had children. But in your ignorance, because, you know, in our beginning stages of evolving to learn in this meat suit what love truly is, I mean, you guys may have been sexually infatuated with the other. Yeah, exactly.
Every time it hits.
It's every time. You know what? You know what was? I had a spiritual fucking moment last night, and I was watching an old Prince live. He was singing Purple Rain.
He's so talented.
So fucking
It almost brings tears to me when you watch him live.
He's like a polymath musician. Like,
yeah, he's cool.
Dude, I was like,
it's awesome.
I couldn't like stop watching. I watched the whole presentation with not just kind of just like not even blinking.
Yeah, he's like a showman virtuoso.
Oh, so good. So sad.
So first of all, thank you for your email.
Love
Continue to study the law of one. Understand these balances in your life, right? And
because unity, this is the good part. Unity causes you for me, the best thing that I can do is not judge. That's my first thought when I see someone. Yeah. Instant separation, instant judgment, which is the opposite of love and light. So, you know, and the opposite of what you need to do is evolve. So if you bring up, I was like, this is me. Like, you're me and I'm you. Like, it's weird to...
How dare you? I'm a victim.
That's weird too. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you and your woke bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're conservative, you know, whatever.
Yeah. You know, and...
It goes both ways.
Last part of the email here from our listener, you'll remember that you wrote this. You're thanking us for everything that we do. Don't fucking thank us at all. You should thank yourself for listening and learning about these things. It is you that is taking the risk and choosing to learn and go through these cycles. No need to thank us. We are here, but that catalyst in your life.
Yeah, great job.
Okay, so I'm all done with that. Now, can we...
Well, this goes right in hand with what you were just talking about, the dark side of manifestation.
Right, so what did Hitler, Stalin, okay? Yeah. What are they doing? They're manifesting.
Manifesting, yep.
These bad ideas, thoughts, bad ethics, bad morals. And so what happens? Where does this lead us, Jason, today?
Well... I want to get into why so many people don't understand, because you watch The Secret, you see these, you see all of this.
What's The Secret?
Attracting. There's a movie called The Secret that's real popular,
where
it's a whole. It's just like old. Attraction, abundance. I think her name was Rhonda Beard.
Oh, off the book?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what this is. All right.
So people are always thinking, I'm going to do The Secret, or I'm going to manifest, and I'm going to track positive. I'm going to track abundance. I'm going to track success, wealth, and then I'm going to see these affirmations over and over again. But if they're not truly understanding who they are, and they're not delving into practices of meditation or self-awareness or journaling or whatever that may be, and we'll get into those, then there are things that are in their life that they're manifesting without even realizing it. And a lot of it is of the negative polarity.
Yeah. And when you manifest, you have a consistent focus. You create this gravity well around material items, which, as we all know, if you've been a listener for a long time, are not permanent. So you're putting your value system of manifestation, what you think is going to evolve you, into less than 10% of the total existence that is out there.
Yes.
That allows you to survive. So all your weight, all your value is like out on the way tippity edge of a tree branch in a giant oak swaying in a hurricane. Like, where would you want to be? Do you want to be out there on the edge, focusing on all these like thoughts to say, oh, I'm so safe out here. I have all these material things. My house is so strong. My car's good. I got a big paycheck. And my wife and kids love me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the value proposition here. What you're doing is you're attaching these ideas and reframing your mind to all this value. And then your branch starts to bend. It gets so heavy with the gravity of these thoughts. What happens? It snaps off. And now you have nothing to fall back onto but the ground. You crash to it. Right? Your life falls apart. How many people have like lost their jobs because of some economic situation, but everything of their value has been tied up in those material things? But what happens? They have psychotic breaks, collapses, suicide. All of these things occur because their whole value system and propositions were, I'm going to continue to manifest what I thought was best for me. And I'm going to do these things and say material. But when that goes away, you've manifested an illusion for yourself.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, I mean, Carl Jung talked about this, the Swiss psychiatrist. He founded analytical psychology. And one of his things that he talks about is getting into the shadow self. But he suggests that what we resist not only persists, but will also grow in size. So we'll use prime example, a pastor that we've seen this, an American pastor has a big mega church. He's anti-liberal. He's anti-gay. He's just on and on and on talking about, homosexuality and all that stuff. And then next thing you know, he gets busted with, with lovemaking with, a young guy or whatever.
Sure.
We've seen this over and over again, or whatever it may be. What you resist persists. So Jung's concept of the shadow self, I think, is relevant here, especially when it comes to this law of attraction or manifestation. It's because it's causing people, when they're doing these positive affirmations and they're only focused on the positive, they're denying and hiding from reality.
Yes.
They're hiding from the work that needs to get done. There is the shadow self of you that is just as much you, like we talked about earlier, just as positive, but there are parts of you that need to be worked on. And if you don't have the complete toolkit and don't have the right tools, you're not going to be able to dig deep and go into there. You're running on, it's an 8-cylinder engine running on 2 or 3.
Yeah, you can't have that.
Yeah.
You know what this reminds me of? And it's not even just like, there are these bad things. It's like, you need to integrate with negative aspects of the self. Don't tell me you've never thought about kicking the shit out of somebody.
Right.
Don't tell me you've never had a negative thought about harming a human being or something else or harming yourself.
Right.
You haven't.
Right.
Okay. The question is, how do you integrate with it? Because the more you ignore it, you don't fundamentally go to the root of why you thought about this thing causing this shadow piece, right? This negatively polarized piece of catalyst or impulse to come up. Like, why is this here? And if you don't do that, it will grow. It will fester.
Oh, 100%.
It'll fester in the subconscious because it has not been worked out. Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
Now, you could be on the other side. I go out, I get my crystals, I'm healing, doing all this other stuff. I don't even think about negative things. I don't watch negative movies. I don't say negative words, nothing. Well, you know what you've done? You've knocked yourself so fucking far out of balance because you don't realize that you need to understand the aspects of both of those things. And if you don't live in the balance of it, if you don't find that integration and you're so polarized to the positive side, your body is out of whack. Psychiatrically, you're out of whack. You're polarized only to one side, and you can't live a normal, healthy cognitive balance within your life too. So then you just manifest and overpolarize to the positive, which can be just as harmful as being some negative person manifesting something that is ethically or morally, not aligned with what society is best for society.
Well, plus you're repressing the parts that you need to learn.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Help, I'm being repressed. Do you remember Monty Python? Yes. They're like putting the shit, put it in piles.
It never can, yeah.
Oh my
gosh. It just oozes out. But, Carl Jung talks about this, and I think this is really good. the subconscious mind is trying to get your attention through your manifestations. So if you're manifesting negative, that manifestation is the physical reality of something that you need to do work on.
Sure.
So if you keep manifesting a boss that's angry and hates your guts, and you've gone through 4 jobs, and you have the same archetype boss over and over and over again, and all you're doing is just a victim to your work, and you slave, and your boss hates you, blah, blah, blah.
Help, I'm being repressed. Yeah.
Then this is a manifestation that's like, hey,
and it's
let's
not
work
real.
on this.
3 out of the 4 bosses could have been great.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you are just manifesting an internal archetype you have about power,
that's all it is. Yeah.
Positions of authority. That's great that you brought that up. We got another email from another one of our listeners about their boss.
Oh, this is interesting.
So this guy runs a fishing ship, okay? Down out of like South Africa or something.
Cool.
But the boss is always hopped up on drugs and doing like these huge rage events. But the person working with him who's writing this email saying, like, how do I work with this person? I'm like trying to show them love and understanding. You can't understand a psychotic nature. There are these things, right? There's things spiral out of control. All right. Well, when things go out of their good nature, sometimes it's almost impossible to reroute those things. Okay. This may be a poor example, but I'm going to share it. Male lions will go out at a certain age or through some sort of action and start to kill off the rest of the species in an area. Sometimes it's a requirement for the preservation of the total species to wipe out this thing. And I'm not saying wipe out your boss. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that something spirals so far out of control that they have to be removed from the system. Either your boss, this captain of the ship, right? This cocaine huffing sailor,
right. Enrage.
Yeah, it's either he removes himself from the situation, or you love the fact or understand the fact that he is making these choices, and you remove yourself from it.
And if you can't, this may be a situation where he can't remove, because I have that. People's like, well, that's easy for you to say, but I'm dependent on this. My life's dependent on this, or whatever.
You've now attached your idea to a dependence on that specific situation.
This is what I always say. If you see no possibilities in your situation, and we're going to get real practical here. If you see no possibilities in your situation, there's only one word for you, and that's called ignorance. Because the universe will manifest itself, here we go, in infinite possibilities.
Absolutely.
Now, that's boss. You're the reason that you're with him in this moment. I mean, you can separate from yourself. You have free will. You can separate yourself anytime you want.
Sure.
Is just for you to be a learning lesson. Maybe you need to learn how you're going to be a boss. Maybe you need to learn, what not to be, whatever that is. But there's a reason why that boss is in your life right now in this moment.
And there's a reason why you made a choice to go work on a ship with that boss.
Yes.
So reconcile 2 things, my friend who wrote this to us. Reconcile your relationship with the boss and your relationship with yourself for how you actually got there.
Yes, 100%.
And once you come to that realization, you're going to get real creative real quick with where your centers of value are.
And you're going
to peace out.
You don't have to make the decision right away either. Here's the thing. Meditating on something can take time.
Jason.
Meditation. Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
You've been doing a lot of it.
But what I'm talking about is looking at a situation and then allowing your higher self to come up with a decision.
Right.
And that conduit may have been blocked. Who knows how much spider webs and rocks and, to open up that conduit of the higher self being able to speak to you clearly. But you will, if you meditate on this situation that's in your life enough, you will come up with a clear, creative answer.
Every single time.
Because the higher self is always about creativity.
Yeah.
And something will manifest itself in a creative way to allow you to be able to go through this situation, whether maybe he changes dramatically, maybe he falls off the ship because he's so drugged out, and the next thing you know, you're the boss. Who knows? There's so many variables.
That was serendipitous in international waters.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, you're off of South Africa. A great white could come up and, there's a lot of situations that happen there. And we're not making fun of your situation at all. But what we're trying to tell you is that you are not a victim to this boss.
No.
And that in this catalyst that you're experiencing right now, if you understand it as that, then it gives you the power to be able to make a decision and change.
Absolutely.
If you understand it just as a learning lesson, not your reality.
And that's the power of your thought to manifest something.
Yes.
But the thing is, do not force a material manifestation.
Yes, 100%.
Let the impulses come in. Work with them. Positive and negative. Just work with these things that happen.
Yeah, I love that.
And then use that in your intellectual toolbox to go do something that is best for you.
Yeah, and your
okay?
family. Yeah.
You cannot, and this needs to be abundantly clear, and I got shit for this, for saying it before, with like, why would I ever trust a nurse who goes out and like smokes a cigarette, or like a surgeon who's like drinking a Pepsi,
Right.
to like say that they have their best interest for taking care of me.
Right.
Fuck that. I am absolutely 100% correct that those people cannot help me if they don't know how to perfectly help themselves first.
100%.
I have no trust in a doctor or someone in the medical field who does not know how to mentally and physically take care of themselves properly, because that directly translates into their work and how that functions for the rest of society. So now here's my point. All right. You cannot help others with all your love and understanding until you love and understand yourself first.
100%.
That is a de facto thing. And you can go through every root cause analysis of everything in your life and how you're going to evolve. And it goes right back to that very point.
Well, the crazy part too with it is people want to bypass the work that they need to do on themselves by being a victim. And then they want to turn around and say that they're spiritual by just being a victim to others while they're serving. And in that service, which is just an illusion, the service is the illusion, because they're just playing that victim archetype out over and over and over again.
It's a sorrow party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorrow party. That's a good one.
Well, I like
and
that
so
term.
then it's like, I'm going to serve more, I'm going to serve more, I'm going to serve more, I'm going to serve more. But where's the serving of the self?
Right. When did you actually recognize
Yes.
where the sorrow is coming from?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's why I say this in a weird way, and people don't understand this, but I'm saying it in a loving way, is focus on yourself. Be selfish.
Yeah.
Like get in there, dig in, find out, like, why am I angry towards this? Oh, because for me personally, anger displays itself as it's the form of fear. I don't sit there and cry and, maybe it's my masculine nature wants to be angry. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask myself, now that I know this, I ask myself, what am I fearing in this situation?
That's correct.
And so then it opens up a whole new, then it puts responsibility back on me. Because if it's responsibility on me, then I'm not a victim.
Right.
And that would be the same thing with your boss is just playing the archetype of the evil. And you can be the hero. This is hero's journey. I mean, you got to face dragons.
All the time.
There's dragons in your life, and you got to get the sword. And I'm not saying don't kill your boss, but
no. And I'll tell you, there's some nasty people out there.
Oh, 100%.
And their moral and ethical compass is 180 degrees diametrically opposed to what you do in your life. But you're going to run into them.
And you're going to manifest this boss. Until you handle this catalyst, you're going to manifest this boss in somehow, some way through your whole life.
Yeah, and let's make something clear here. Or as the Russians say, yasna. When you overcome one catalyst, when you integrate with it appropriately, say this boss, you are going to get even more potent catalysts for you to deal with throughout your life. Do not think it's riding easy after you've solved one thing.
No.
What happens is it keeps coming at you. It's a boomerang effect. Okay?
That's why most people don't want to be spiritual, because they don't want to have to deal with this.
No, and so what you do is you deal with it. You work with it, and you thank it every single time for no matter how difficult or challenging it may be for you at an emotional, physical, philosophical, or, intellectual-based manner. Okay?
I love that. I want to get into, just real quick before we go,
No, we don't have to rush.
hermetic axiom.
No, we don't have to rush. This is great.
I like this. You're throwing questions in there at the same time.
Go slow on me, all right? Don't rush.
I will, yeah. I'll take my time.
I'm tender, okay?
But it talks about the macrocosm is mirrored in the microcosm.
Yes, you know where that comes from.
Well, it's hermetic text, but it's like emerald tablets and shit like that.
Absolutely. So you had Hermes Trismegistus, and then you also had another individual called Heraclitus, who came up with this idea of the unity of opposites. And these things are required to have opposing balance between both of these things so that the universe continues its motion in its own perpetual evolution within the logos itself.
Yeah, I love that.
If you want to unpack that later, you can meet me at the Oxford Library and we can talk about it.
But this in the context of manifestation, it suggests that our internal state, the microcosm, is reflected in our external reality, the macrocosm. So if your inner world, this microcosm, is fraught with fear, insecurity, anger, then those feelings, that emotion, because emotion gets manifested in the physical world, in our external world, the macrocosm comes in conflicts, accidents, misfortunes. People say, well, I just have bad luck.
No.
It's the microcosm, that inner state, and I like to use the word state. I think that's really important. The inner state compared to the external reality, the macrocosm. That's all it is you should, if you're having bad luck constantly, you should be saying, well, I've got a lot of inner work to do. Yeah. I've got to break this cycle.
If you just think that you're just poised for bad things, what are you always going to look for? Bad things. And what are your thoughts always going to do? Be poised towards making decisions which lead to bad things.
It always goes down that path. It's so funny how we view them as bad things. And the wiser I get, the more I'm understanding it just as a learning lesson. It's like, okay, God or universe, whatever, what would you have me learn in this?
You're just developing those wise
just have
assets.
that open, if you can have that openness to say, this isn't bad, this is just a learning lesson.
Right.
And I want to get into Proverbs 23:7, which is a Bible verse.
Holy shit, we're getting into the Bible.
It states this.
I told you the Roman Catholic Church paid for this episode.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Okay.
And, we were talking earlier about the Law of One was talking this same Bible verse where it was talking about the thoughts, that our thoughts and feelings shape our reality. And then, it's basically, and I want to boil it down really simple to manifestation, it's basically the law of cause and effect. It's that simple.
I don't want to say the Plejaren nailed it, but they did.
Yeah, where one actions, whether positive or negative, always, this is math, yield a corresponding result.
Absolutely. And what does that do?
So what if the result is you have bad luck all the time? You're yielding that.
Yeah. Like you're just on your plow being pulled by these bad luck oxen. You know what I mean? You're just tearing the field up, and you know what you're going to yield? No fruits from your labor. No.
So I want to get into a practical, there's no fruit on the tree. I want to get into a practical, for some reason, right when you said that, I pictured a fruitless tree.
It's sad.
I know, yeah. It was just this beautiful tree that just didn't have any oranges on it.
Whoa, I just got goosebumps. I had my dream last night was about had like an apple, or it's like a big apple in it. But it was just like, it was like remarkable beauty of the apple.
You just was like mesmerized by the fruit.
Interesting.
So the key to transforming these negative manifestations lies in the inner work. And I'm going to get more specifically so people understand this, and we'll close on this, is self-awareness. So this involves, first step, guys, is acknowledgement.
I don't think we've ever talked about self-awareness on this show.
Not that much, no. We don't get into that at all.
I have so many cylinders.
It's not you have so many fruit trees blossoming right now.
Dude.
It's like pop, 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 pop.
I still rip the magic mind, and it hits.
It hits every time.
It hits every time. So but
acknowledge. We have to acknowledge it first, because the ostrich with the head in the sand, when shit happens. I mean, you're seeing this with your and I don't want to get too personal, maybe you don't want to. I don't know.
Go ahead.
You're seeing this, and I've seen this in my life. When death,
who's here? Grim Reaper.
Yeah, we did a whole episode. It just got released on the Grim Reaper that you did. But when death knocks on the door, figuratively, how each of the family members play out, and you always have the ostrich.
Yeah,
the one that sticks his head in the sand and is like, "Oh, okay, there's danger."
Just put here, but my ass is still hanging out.
Exactly.
You
can still see yourself. It's just you think that you can't.
That's what Jung talked about. Like, you have to be aware of these other things.
The acknowledgement of the shadow aspect.
Oh, that's there.
Yes.
That is me. It's not some cosmic impulse and I have some negative entities tracking over me, or I can blame it on the spirits that are in my room at night.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking you.
It's the devil.
Yeah,
the devil is you.
Well, if it's the devil, I recommend you live in a round barn because there's no place for the devil to hide.
And Jordan Peterson talks about this really good. He's like, we all have snakes inside. And he said, if you want to understand snakes, the snakes that you have inside of yourself, get in a relationship with somebody.
There you go.
Because each of your snakes, as you get to know each other, like you and your wife know each other's snakes.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can pull them out of her anytime you want. If you get feisty, you could be like, "Oh, let me pull out this anger snake."
Oh yeah, it's like cutting the hair off a Medusa.
Yeah, exactly.
Even for me, look how long my hair is.
But this is when you acknowledge the shadow aspect of yourself, then you can begin healing those inner wounds. What you'll find out is that they're not actually wounds.
No, it's
but that's what we call it as.
It's your illusion of self-inflicted pain you've caused by your intellectual pathways and how you consciously decide to live your life and perceive your world. Manifest something beneficial through the self-awareness of your own acknowledgement of how you've been living your life. Recognize it. Walk right up to the face of it and say, I'm not scared of you. I actually thank you for what I've been doing and thank you, life. I've taken that path. I'm done doing it. This is time for me to change my perspective about how I see the world and how I want to go forward.
Oh, change your thought pattern.
Oh, interesting.
So now you've recognized it. You've acknowledged it. You've understood what it is. And now you're taking the power to change.
You're being responsible for your actions?
You can actually change that?
You're being responsible for your thoughts?
That's wild.
That's fucking nuts.
And if you change your thoughts, what happens? You change your life.
Boom. That's mind, then body, then spirit.
That's manifestation.
Yeah, and that's where it happens on higher density living. See you later.